What's up, 2K crew? Welcome to episode 45. And you know what? If you're not a part of the 2K crew, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Look us up on any of all the podcast places. And yeah, you can even ask Alexa and Siri to play the Turbo and 2K show. So there's no fucking reason why you can't get us in your ears, in your eyes, because that's what we do. Well, Mr. 2K's 45 episodes. We're getting close to that 1 year mark. And ironically enough, it's Valentine's Day is our our first episode went live on Valentine's Day 2019. So we're getting close to that mark, and I want to thank each and every one of you individually, but I don't have that fucking time. So I'm just going to thank you all right now for continuing on this journey with us. Well, 2Ks, let's kick the show off with, man, I was kind of surprised at the 2K crew, their reactions and choices to our all-time NBA teams.
Yeah, me too. I guess I never imagined that it would be basically one player. Like, you pick one player and that makes the best team of the best all-time team. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little butthurt because I didn't get the most votes. But
at least your dad voted for you.
yeah. But to me, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and argue with anybody that MJ is not the best of all time.
No,
he probably would have been my first pick. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, this team, the team that I have, with exception of Reggie Miller, because he was just kind of a filler that I was throwing in because I wanted a shooter. But with exception of him...
I mean, he's, number 3 on the list for all-time made threes?
Yeah.
So it's not like you're shortchanging yourself and throwing in a dud.
Yeah.
I mean, Reggie's Reggie. Now, you might have went even on a different side as if you would have chose a sister. Because it's still argued in their household who's a better basketball player, him or his sister. So,
yeah, it's just, in my opinion, I have... With exception of Reggie, the 4 other guys I have, Magic, Bird, LeBron, and Kareem, those are 4 of maybe the top 5 or 6 players of all time. And I have them all on the same team. To me, that trumps Jordan.
And I know with my team in particular, I went comparatively probably super young.
Yeah, you have 2 guys. You have 2 guys that are... You have Steph that I think is just kind of reaching the prime of his career, and we're going to see what he does... down the tail end of it is
if he can stay healthy.
Yes. And then you have Antetokounmpo, who, I mean, we haven't even seen the best of him yet. He just keeps on improving every single year. And I mean, last season he won the MVP, and he's 23 right now. I mean, he's got years and years. To me, where he's at now, he might be a little bit advanced from what LeBron was at this time. So
yeah, and you could argue that especially comparing him to LeBron at this point in his career, neither one of them have a stellar, surrounding crew with them.
No.
And, but yeah, that I was shocked. I was, because I'm pretty sure that you and I both had in our head that if you take Jordan away from Christian's team, it's garbage.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue KD. KD is he's going to go down as one of the better players ever. Olajuwon, defensively, probably the best defensive post player that's ever played in the NBA. But the Gary Payton,
garbage.
You can say on-ball defender, yeah, great. But I mean, I would have probably, if you want to go for a true defensive player and then also give you some offense too, I would have went Isaiah.
Yeah.
As a point guard over him, and then Pippen at the power forward. I mean, I guess you want to team up Pippen with MJ because it seems like
peas and carrots.
But there's probably at least 10 power forwards in the game I would rather throw in there than Pippen.
Yeah, that. But you know what? Christian pretty much drafted off the cuff. He had no notes like you and I had, and I tell you what, the people spoke. Do I agree with them? No, of course. I think my team's the best, and I'm sure you think your team's the best.
Yeah.
But...
And I mean, I guess one of the questions I have is how many of these people that were looking at this team knew like that we did this as a draft It wasn't like we were all, had the opportunity to pick whoever we wanted.
Right.
Obviously, I would not taken Reggie Miller over MJ at shooting guard.
Right.
It's but no, to me, I guess it pisses me off a little bit because it is Christian. Like if they would have picked your team, I'd have been like, oh, I can live with that. But since they picked Christians, it's like, what the no.
And I would say out of the three of us, he keeps up with basketball, especially now, like the current game, better than you and I do.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to watching MJ, Magic, Bird, and one guy that I don't even think we talked about was Patrick Ewing.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Ewing, him and John Starks and all of those feisty ass fucking
Knicks.
Yeah, I was gonna say Nets. Knicks teams. I mean, those were that era, the Pistons, the Bulls. That era, it didn't matter who was coming out of the West.
Mm-hmm.
Though one of those three were coming out of the East, and as you can see with history, Jordan came out of the East the vast majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But those, I mean, even Oakley was on that Knicks team. I mean, there were just a bunch of bruisers that would kick the shit out of you,
mm-hmm.
and that's the basketball I grew up watching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit older than you and Christian, so I got to watch it. I mean, I was a huge Michael Jordan fan.
Oh yeah.
And that's what brought me to actually enjoy basketball, to watch it. Now you go like my dad's age or your dad's age, where a lot of them think Jordan killed the NBA, which now that I'm a little older and I can look back on it and see where they're coming from, you can kind of agree.
Yeah.
The Jordan rules are pretty much set up the rules that we have today. And we kind of we kind of touched on it last week, where if Jordan played with these rules, shit.
Oh.
He would take 30, 35 free throws a game.
Yeah.
And Jordan was an excellent free throw shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So in my eyes, he'd score 25, 30 points from free throws, and then fuck around and get 20 points normally. He would average 45 to 50 points a game.
Mm.
But the one thing that separates Jordan from all of them is he would do that while still winning the defensive MVP. None of the guys that we talk about, they're, especially nowadays, how many times do you hear watching an NBA game, a defensive specialist or a lockdown defender? Not that often.
Yeah, and the ones that you do hear of, they're not averaging 28, 29 points a game.
No, they're averaging like 9.
Yeah.
So, I guess that goes back to Christian's, ultimately my lack of taking Jordan,
mm-hmm.
where I thought Shaq compared to the rest of, I want a dominant team down low.
Mm.
The reason I went with Steph is to spread them out. Steph can shoot from anywhere. He can take you off the dribble. Now, once he gets inside with those big guys, is he going to run around them, or is he going to go right at them?
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference in today's game compared to then, because there really are no like dedicated centers anymore. Mm-hmm. Dwight Howard might be the last one, and everyone else is a stretch 4 that's 7 foot shooting threes. Mm-hmm. Joel Embiid. I mean, even take Giannis. You could rattle off for days and days and days, and hell, even Ben Simmons is 7 foot and he's a fucking point guard.
Yep.
So the game has changed, absolutely.
And one of the things too, I think that hurt my team a little bit is, I don't think, but you look at Magic and Bird and Kareem. I don't think a lot of people that follow us watch basketball or followed basketball or are the big history buffs in basketball, like back in the 80s and the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s when these guys were playing and Magic, testing positive for HIV and mm-hmm. right in the middle of his career, the prime of his career.
Yep.
And when that happened, so you look at guys, like most of these guys that we have named on all 3 of these teams, they played over 1,000 games in their career. Mm-hmm. Magic played about 800 games in his career because of, his career getting cut short. Mm-hmm. You can say the same thing about Bird. Bird had chronic back issues.
Oh, yeah.
To where, he had to cut his career short,
mm-hmm.
and wasn't able to play through that injury. So I just think, and then Kareem, he was the opposite. He played for, I want to say that he played for 23, 24 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He played the most games of anybody. And that's why he's the all-time NBA leading scorer.
He pulled an Emmitt Smith before it was Emmitt Smith.
Yes. But, but then I had LeBron on that team who probably someday is going to pass Kareem.
Mm-hmm. And there's whenever I think about like all-time NBA teams, I'm pretty sure most anyone, at least in my eyes, if I close my eyes and think of the all-time NBA team, it's the fucking Dream Team.
Mm-hmm.
That first Olympic team that just shit on everybody. And, there's even the stories about when they were playing Tony Kukoc's team, and Kukoc was going to be drafted by the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
And Jordan and Pippen just fucked him over, worked him over, and said, you know what? If you're going to play with us, we're going to beat the shit out of you to see how good
Mm-hmm.
you are. And they just fucking humiliated him. And I think the closest game was like 38 points, and that was towards the finals. Now, I know international basketball's changed a lot
Mm-hmm.
since then. But if you look at the Hall of Famers and just the amount of all-time NBAs, all-star teams, that was probably the best team ever assembled in the history of basketball. And there probably will not be one that's like that. And especially with let's be real, Jordan was a diva. Kobe was a diva. They both still are. But they have the same kind of mentality, like, fuck you, this is me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say Chuck Daly was the coach of that team. So many different personalities. And that was back before, like nowadays, you get players hanging out in the off season, working out together. They have the same agent, so they hang out together. It wasn't like that back then.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan wanted to beat the shit out of Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars every time he stepped on the court. Isaiah's on that team. Every time he's banging with Charles Barkley, he wants to kick the shit out of Charles Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
Charles is on that team. So for them to stay together, at least for that little run, and not constant fist fights. Now, what would have been funny is if there was Twitter back then, and either that or just a camera phone to follow Michael Jordan throughout the practices, throughout the games. And I'm pretty sure you could say that about his whole career. How, like, there probably would be a lot more people wouldn't think of Jordan in the same light as far as the off the court stuff. But I would be really intrigued, and I wouldn't give a fuck. I would enjoy that. I'd watch him every game, just to see what's going to happen next. But yeah, to kind of put a bow on the whole all-time NBA thing, that's the team that I see. Now, is that reminiscent of either any of our three teams? We got a little bit sprinkled in here and there, but as far as that dream team goes, I think your team has the most players from that team. So if you want to think about it that way, but the 2K crew have spoken, and we just have to accept the fact that Christian might have got this one over on us.
Yeah, we'd have to go through and count the votes. I think Christian did have the most votes.
I got 0.
No, I think you had one. You had one or two, I think, mixed in there. Right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
You had a couple, I think, I can remember. And then some people started kind of chiming in on Christian. It wasn't until day 2 when people started to kind of give me any love. But no, it's... I'm gonna go to sleep tonight thinking that I have the best team here, and I guess I don't have to agree with how the results came.
And when I put out a poll earlier this year about, talking to the 2K crew, and for those of you listening and watching, if you don't know who the 2K crew are, it's our fans. We've got a Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Turbo and 2Ks. Come in and join the fun, because we interact with our crew on the daily, giving you a little bit more insight, giving you teasers on what's going to be on the upcoming shows. So hop on there and do that. And I put out a thing that, list your, who's your favorite NFL, college football, baseball, hockey, basketball. There were a lot of I don't give a shit about basketball comments. So I'm 2K crew. I'm right there with you. I'm not a huge NBA fan. I watch more individual players than a team.
Yeah.
And if you're asking, do I play fantasy basketball? No. The reason why is I only watch like 4 guys.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that the likelihood of me getting those 4 guys in my starting 5 are nearly impossible. So now college basketball, for it, love it. March Madness, favorite time of year.
Oh yeah.
So, and speaking of which, we're recording on Saturday, watching the Oregon-Michigan game. And for those of you on the YouTubes, you do see another perspective here. Kind of moving the camera around a little bit, and I did make the plunge and buy a camera. So we're kind of testing it out, and we have both my iPad and the camera going. So I'm not sure how long the battery will last, and just doing it as a backup. So, and as you can see, we haven't gotten around to decorating the studio yet. But I figured after the holidays, that'll kind of work its way in here slowly. And if any of you have anything you want to put on display, get a hold of me. And if it's cool, we'll put it up. If it's not, I'll tell you to keep it. Not really. But so let's move from the basketball, which you and I, that's not our forte, to something a little bit more in our wheelhouse, MLB. Now, to be honest with you, 2Ks, I didn't think we'd be having this conversation this early. Considering the money that's flown around this year, where if you rewind the past 2 years, players in the players union were bitching about teams not spending, and just the overall, we need to do something. How do we make teams spend money, which is basically bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the owner of a team, spend the money the way you want to fucking spend your money.
Yeah.
If you want to be under the luxury tax, fine. But you know what? Don't be bitching about teams that are over that constantly win. Spend your money the way you want to, but don't bitch at the fucking results. So, yeah, the baseball hot stove started out extremely hot.
Yeah.
Extremely hot. And I think the whole thing kind of kicked off with JD Martinez not opting out in Boston. That kind of got the whole thing rolling. And then let's be honest, there's pretty much the top 3 studs: Steven Strasburg, Garrett Cole, and Anthony Rendon. They're like the three big guys. Now you look back at last year, and I was going to do this before we started recording, is I want to see how many times we mentioned where Bryce and Manny Machado would go before they actually signed. It was at least 5 episodes before of course, they were rumored going, well, so of these guys. Strasburg, not so much because he opted out. But the other 2, we've known that they're going to be on the free agent market the entire year. And you would think that if I was a GM, you would think Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, 2 household names that, I mean, granted, you could argue Bryce is kind of overhyped and overpaid, and Manny Machado is Manny. I mean, he rakes 270, 35 bombs, and 120 RBIs. That's what he does, and is one of the best infielders in the game today. Put him anywhere. I guarantee you put him at first base, he'd be a Gold Glove first baseman. With the 3 this year, they signed really quick.
Yeah, I mean, we started doing this in February.
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about it. Valentine's Day was our first episode, and Machado and Harper weren't even close to having a deal done at that time.
No, and today is December 14th.
And
winter meetings, and Strasburg inks a 7-year, $245 million deal to stay with the Nats.
That was probably my favorite one so far this offseason. That he stayed.
Me too.
He stayed there.
Me too. And that surpassed the David Price and Boston deal and the per year for the fuck's his name? Drawing a blank. Houston traded for him from Arizona. Help me out.
Oh, Greinke.
The per year for Greinke. Only to be outdone with the next day. Garrett Cole signs a 9-year, $324 million deal to stay with, or to be the Yankees. That is one expensive fucking haircut. And I know I stole that off a meme somewhere that's not actually me. But if I would have wrote it down, I would have given you props. But yes, he looks so weird without a beard.
He does.
And without his locks hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
Looks so weird. And let's go continue down this road. Anthony Rendon, 6-year, $192 million deal to join up with Mike Trout over in LA.
Yeah, and that's another deal that I absolutely love. I think that maybe they overpaid a little bit, but finally, Mike Trout has somebody in that lineup with him. Not
named Pujols.
And I don't think they're done yet. I think they're gonna go get an arm.
They have to. Mm-hmm. They have to. And we'll kind of break these down. I just want to throw them out, and then we'll give you our 2 cents here. And Oregon and Michigan going into overtime. It looks like. And some other ones. Moustakas signs with the Reds. Didi Gregorius and Zach Wheeler sign with the Phillies. Rick Porcello signs with the Mets.
That could sneaky be a really good signing for them.
Yeah, and I've always been a Porcello fan. Always, when he was with Detroit, then he got traded to Boston, and then signed an extension with Boston, and now he finally hit the market. Kudos to him. I think that Mets team is that NL East, aside from Miami, is going to be. Oh, did that?
I don't think so.
I don't think it counted. So Michigan might squeak away with a 3-point victory, which would be
that's going to be overtime. Yeah. That would have been the win the game.
Okay, so it is going in overtime. So yeah, that NL East is going to be brutal. Mm-hmm. Like I said, without Miami's Miami. Yeah. Thank you, Derek Jeter. But so let's start at the top. Let's kind of give it. I'll throw the name out. Tell me if you like it or don't like it. And then once we're done with that, let's talk about some big names that could be on the move and some big names that haven't signed yet, and where do we think they're going to sign. So you already touched on it. Strasburg staying with the Nats. I love it. They going into this offseason, most everyone thought he was going to do this. Mm-hmm. He's been there his entire career. Still relatively young. Has a family that's rooted there. Granted, if you add another $50 million to that, would that make me uproot my family? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. But kudos to him. And the Nats are still going to be the Nats. Yeah. Granted, they're losing Rendon. Maybe a couple arms in the bullpen, but let's be honest, their bullpen wasn't that great. Mm-hmm. So what are they? There's still Josh Donaldson out there that's rumored to be signing with them. Yep. Which he had a miraculous comeback season this last year. Mm-hmm. The only thing with him is he's 33, 32, somewhere in there, and he wants a 4-year deal. To me, that's a little too long. Yeah. That's a little too long, and he might not, which obviously he's still out there, so no teams jumped on that. But yeah,
they still have Soto, and he's going to do nothing but get better.
Yeah, and to quote Dallas Braden on the starting 9, the power take. Can't wait to see how many people do that this year. Just take it, just grab a big handful of dick and just say, not swinging at that one this time, partner. Not swinging at this time. What's going to swing is a swinging dick right here, right across your forehead once I go deep with it. So what's your take on the Garrett Cole signing?
To me, that kind of money and for that amount of time, it's just, for me, it's too risky as a pitcher. For a pitcher, if it's a position player like we see last year with Mike Trout and with Harper, they play every single day. Garrett Cole can only affect the game 1 out of every 5 games.
That's true.
And then you get to the postseason, and maybe that shrinks up to every 3 games, 4 games, whatever. But you got to get to the postseason. Mm-hmm. And I guess if it was any other team other than the Yankees, I would probably kind of shy away from it. But this is what the Yankees do. Yep. The Yankees spend money. You know that every single offseason, the Yankees are going to be right smack dab in the middle of about every single big player, and they're going to be wheeling and dealing, throwing deals to everybody. That's just what they do. So it doesn't shock me one bit. And I don't like the deal because, for one, Garrett Cole's always been a top of the rotation pitcher, but he's never been the type of pitcher he was last season.
No, he was. There was a whole other gear that he threw it into.
And so my question is, can he keep this up? My other question is, Houston has a way of getting these guys to pitch better there. You know, you look at it with Verlander.
Yep.
Verlander was not pitching very well in Detroit there at the end when Detroit traded him away.
And no, everyone, he was not tanking to get fucking traded. Stop it.
But he leaves Detroit and he goes to Houston, and it's like he's probably been better in Houston than what he ever was when he won the MVP in Detroit.
Oh, hands down. Hands fucking down.
So
hands down.
Houston just has this knack of, maybe they're doing something with their pitching too, where they're tipping their...
I don't know.
Got the camera crews in there or whatever. I don't know. But it seems like Houston has something going on there where guys just go there and they play better.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm, when after the trade deadline, I thought the biggest piece that was traded was Aaron Sanchez, because I think he's going to come back next year and be a fucking beast. He was always good with Toronto. I mean, the couple years with Donaldson and Encarnacion and that Bash Brothers team, yeah, he was good. Yeah, but he was kind of, granted there was Stroman there too, but he was kind of forced into a bigger role than I think what he was ready for. Mm-hmm. With this, he had a short amount of time with Cole while he was there. He's going to have Verlander around him constantly. And if you ask me, granted, Stroman was great, but if I'm an up-and-coming stud, who would I want to hang out with more, Verlander, Stroman? You fucking kidding me? Give me Verlander all day. Yeah. I would room with Verlander. I would wear the same clothes that he did, eat the same things, do exactly the same thing that he does, regardless if my stuff is even close to his. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where if you want to be the best, be with the best. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like the young kids around Miggy. They should be glued to his fucking hip. Mm-hmm. And, look what it did for JD. Look what it did for a lot of these young kids throughout the past. Castellanos. So my thing is that obviously I have to hate Garrett Cole now because he's a Yankee. But you're right. In a sense of signing for the big name, the Yankees always do it. And it's going to hurt my soul to say this, that I'm actually proud of the Yankees. They waited and was able to throw money at it and still keep all of their young studs instead of trading for them. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Houston was not going to trade Garrett Cole last year. None. But if you look at what the Yankees could have got by a Stroman or...
making the deal with the Tigers for Boyd. I mean, there was talk there.
Boyd, Mad Bum. A lot of these guys that they could have traded their studs away, but yet they hold pat. They didn't get to where they wanted to go, obviously, because there's only two teams that get to go where they want to go. They stayed pat. Where I think in the old regime they would have cleared the fucking farm team and got not only Stroman but Madison Bumgarner or Matt Boyd and said fuck the kids, we're winning right now. Which is what they did during the whole, George Steinbrenner era. Their farm system was garbage. That's why they had to spend money to get the A-Rods, the Mark Teixeiras, the CC Sabathias. All of those guys, they would trade away and then have to re-sign. Yep. So for all of you that say it's the same old Yankees, not really. It's, yes, they still spend money, but they're spending money smartly. Mm-hmm. If you tell me all I have to do is spend this much money, I get to keep all of these studs in my farm system, are you fucking kidding me? Mm-hmm. You look back and they could have easily traded a Gleyber Torres or any of these young kids to acquire pitching leading up to this. Is the deal far too long? Yes. Are the Yankees used to this type of deal? Yep. CC, I want to say he signed a couple 1-year extensions, but other than that, he wasn't a bad signing. Mm-hmm. Teixeira was, he had his injury problems, but when he was right, probably one of the top 2 or 3 switch hitters in the game. Not a bad deal. Mm-hmm. Not a bad deal. But yeah, it pains me to say it, Garrett Cole. I rooted for you all off season. Now I have to hate you, and I hope your career goes down the drain. Anthony Rendon. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this one first because we're getting down to this overtime. 69-68, Oregon on top of Michigan, and they go to the line. I don't see it. I'm not as big of an Anthony Rendon fan, I guess, as
Really?
a lot of other people.
I am.
I don't mind him. Is he to me? He's more middle of the road. He's above average. He's well. Would it be safe to say that? Let me see here. He reminds me a lot of Adrian Beltre.
Yeah, well, I mean,
without the arm,
but that's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Well, hear me out. He's that without the arm.
He's not. Yeah, he's not Adrian Beltre defensively.
No.
Not to that caliber.
But stature wise, they're both built about the same. Hitting wise, both hit about the same. Rendon can get hot, but in my eyes, I think overall, if the Angels would have saved the money, traded prospects to get a Chris Bryant, I think they're a better team than spending the money to get Rendon.
Mm-hmm.
Just my opinion. There's also rumors that the Rockies are listening to offers for Arenado. Arenado by far is better than Rendon.
Yeah.
Last year with Machado, I mean, granted, we're talking about $108 million difference here. Yeah. And I can't remember off the top of my head the number of years that Machado was, but Rendon was 6 years, $192 million, and whereas Machado was the 300, closer to 300. I'd take him over him any day of the week too. And now and this was one of the larger third baseman signings ever. And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Does he add to an already good Angels lineup? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But could you imagine a Chris Bryant or a Manny Machado behind Mike Trout? Granted, one you'd have to pay a whole lot more money. The other one you would have to pay and give up prospects.
I'd rather have Rendon.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maybe it's just because I haven't watched a shit ton of Nats games.
No, but the only time I've watched Nats games is
the playoffs.
Yes, and Strasburg wins the MVP, and he deserved to. Mm-hmm. In that World Series, he deserved to win the
Absolutely.
MVP. Now, MVP of the entire playoffs, I might go run down on that. They wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for him and some of the big hits that he had, some of the big home runs that he had. In games.
Him and Soto both.
Yeah. I'll go on to say that they wouldn't have been in the playoffs if it wasn't for him and what he did, in that second half of the season, and when they got hot and made their run and because at the All-Star break they weren't a playoff team.
No. Oh, what was it? After like May 1st or something like June 1st, they had the same record as the Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying he's bad by any means. I just think that. In my eyes, kind of an overpayment. Were there other? I mean, hell, Josh Donaldson you could get. Donaldson's not nearly the fielder, a little bit more streakier of a hitter, but Donaldson with more thump behind Mike Trout or even in front of or wherever the fuck you want to put him. The only thing like we touched on with Donaldson is he wants a 4-year deal.
Yeah. Donaldson.
This is more of a long-term fix than a Band-Aid. I get that.
Yeah.
But if you went the Chris Bryant route as well, I mean,
yeah. And
I'm just throwing that out there. I haven't seen any rumors or anything like that. And I mean, he'd be back with Madden.
Yeah.
So
no, you don't. That's the big thing now is teams don't want to get rid of prospects. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see more teams, be willing to throw these big numbers at them and try to sign them in the offseason because you can do that and you don't have the money doesn't really matter. Let's be honest. There's no salary cap in baseball. There is a luxury tax, but I don't think really most teams that are competing don't really care about that.
For whatever reason, the fucking Red Sox do now, which pisses me off.
But
we'll get to more of that later.
But so for them to, I think there's a lot of pressure for the Angels as far as we have to do something.
Yeah, we have the best player on the fucking planet.
Yes, we have the best player on the planet, and we haven't been able to win a playoff series yet with him. We can't even get to the fucking playoffs with the best player.
And Moustakas doesn't pitch, or Rendon doesn't pitch.
I mean,
last I checked.
When you bring Joe Madden over, I mean, right there, that starts it right there. That we want to win now. We have the best player. We just locked him up to, broke records as far as the contract with him.
Which they should have.
Yes, absolutely.
You cannot let Mike Trout walk.
Yes.
It's the same thing with Mookie in Boston. You let him. In my eyes, trading him is letting him walk. Mm-hmm. Pay the man his fucking money. Cut everyone else. I don't care if we have to play with 7 guys. I want Mookie Betts as a fucking Red Sox.
But going back to the Angels, I mean, yes, you have all that pressure around having Trout there. Mm-hmm. I think both of us will agree that Ausmus, blows as a coach, as a manager. He's never going to be a very good manager.
What was he there for 2 years?
But he was there for 1.
Yeah,
he was there for 1 year. But they saw their opportunity to go get Madden, and you can't blame them for doing that. I mean, they just replaced a shitty manager with arguably the best manager in baseball.
Yeah.
So they have, to me, that there's going into this offseason, they have more pressure than anybody. So that's why you see them throw big monies at Rendon. You're going to see them throw big money at whether it's Bumgarner, whether it's somebody here in the next couple of weeks. They're gonna add a pitcher.
They have to. They have to, because that looking at that team, that was their Achilles heel, is their pitching. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, if everything goes right, you're going to get Ohtani back.
Yep.
So there's that. That's like adding. That's like adding an arm without having to pay anything because you already got him.
Yep.
But they have to get pitching, and that's why I asked. I was like, Anthony Rendon doesn't pitch last time I saw, so they have to have someone, because that's not a Yankees lineup where you can break home run records. Mm-hmm. And I'm referring to the Angels right now. Even though Trout's amazing, Pujols is Pujols. He's declining, but he's still going to give you 25 bombs, 30 bombs if he's healthy. You have Andrelton Simmons, which is coming into probably the best hitting. Last year was probably his best year hitting in his career. And he seems like he's only getting better year in and year out. So as far as the shortstop position goes, and then you add Rendon in there, there's a lot of thump in that lineup now. Mm-hmm. Is it a Yankee team that can is it a Yankee lineup that can outslug you day in and day out? No. Mm-hmm. No. So, and there's been some other pitchers that have landed elsewhere that could have helped. So we shall see where they go. Now, the next one on the list, there are 2Ks. Mr. Mike Moustakas. He goes to the Reds, and he signs with the Reds to play second base, which, if you followed Mike Moustakas for any amount of time, he came up with the Royals as a third baseman, and he was traded to the Brewers, correct?
Yep.
And then fucked around a little bit at both.
Yep. So
now the Reds have got their second baseman now. I like it.
Absolutely.
I like it.
He's just one of those sneaky good players. Mm-hmm. You don't hear about him in the MVP talks, but he sneaks into an All-Star game here and there. He's just solid. He's a
solid left-handed bat.
Yep.
He really is.
Yep.
And I did not write down the amount of the contract, but it wasn't anything near what the previous ones we talked about. One that kind of shocked me, Didi Gregorius was not held on to by the Yankees. However, the Yankees did keep Brett Gardner, mm-hmm. which to me, the Yankees are Brett Gardner. He's been there long enough, and he's that dude that if he's on your team, you love him. If he's not on your team, you hate him. So I have this love-hate relationship with him. He seems like he always comes up and just shits on my Red Sox every chance he gets. I mean, it's not just with the Red Sox, but every team. So yeah, they hang on to Gardner, but yet let Didi walk, and Didi's been a great bridge from Jeter, because we've talked about it. You never want to be the guy after the guy, And I think Didi's far. I mean, he's done exactly what they wanted him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess the plan is for Gleyber Torres to play short. Who's the LeMahieu to play second.
Yep.
So it's not like they're leaving the cupboard dry by any means. But let's see how Torres plays an entire season at shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is just the eye test. He looks more like a second baseman than a shortstop. Yeah. Does he have the arm of a shortstop? Sure, sure. I think the only shortstop in the whole MLB that doesn't have a shortstop arm is Addison Russell, which once we saw Baez move to short, Baez is one of the best shortstops in the league now too. So, but the Phillies weren't done there. They land Zach Wheeler from the Mets, which I to me is a huge signing for them. Huge signing, and that team was pretty scary last year with, and it took Bryce a minute to get. And I'm sure if you ask Bryce, it wasn't his best season. And Philly fan, don't worry, you're going to have him for a lot longer. So you're going to see him play a lot more. I think it's going to come down to how healthy is Arrieta, and by adding these two pieces, I mean, put that left-handed. I mean, Didi kind of reminds me like the swing of. Goddamn, names are hard today. The old Philly shortstop, Rollins. Yeah, very similar left-handed swing, and we saw what Rollins did there, and Didi's got even more pop. And that little Philly bandbox over there, I have a feeling that, I mean, he'd pencil him in for 35-40 if he's healthy. And Zach Wheeler, I mean, just throws gas and throws it very well. And another one that you and I kind of touched on before we went on air is Rick Porcello to the Mets. Yeah. Can the Mets get any better pitching? I mean, it doesn't seem like it, but they traded for Stroman. They've had Thor. I mean, you can just go. I mean, granted, pretty much you're taking Porcello and letting Wheeler walk. Yeah. Which the Porcello deal compared to the Wheeler deal is vastly different numbers.
Huge discount.
And you get even though he's not that old, a grizzled vet. I mean, probably as a young age, Porcello's pitched more important games in his early 20s than most dudes pitched their whole entire career. Wasn't it his rookie year he pitched game 163 for the Tigers? Yep. And pitched a hell of a game. Yep. So, I mean, I really don't think with like I said, the only one that surprised me was Didi. I thought for sure the Yankees would keep him on just because he's homegrown. Yeah. I mean, but you know, they moved on, and the Phillies I think are going to benefit from it to kind of add to that NL East thing that we were talking about. You know, the Braves pretty much the only thing they're still in the Josh Donaldson thing, so they could potentially re-sign him. And they're still the baby Braves. Yeah. And they're just going to be even if they don't get Donaldson back, they're probably going to be better than they were. Just fine, yeah. Yeah. So, and then you add the Mets that are adding pieces, and you got Alonso for the whole year, and you add Porcello, you add these other little and then even Cespedes is gonna he restructured his deal, so and he's gonna try to come back after the heel injuries, so we'll see how he does, and if he's even close to what he was before. That's a huge bat. Now you have a little bit more protection around Alonso, and kind of give him something that they really didn't have last year. So, and then the Phillies on top of that's like I said, every team aside from the Marlins.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
No. Now let me throw some names at you, and I want you to tell me where you think they're going to land next year. Oh. Follow no. Oh.
What a game.
Yeah. Oregon in overtime, 71-70 over Michigan. That was a hell of a game. And for Michigan to even come back and get it to overtime.
Yeah, they were down by 16 at one time in the first half.
Yeah, they fought back into that one. They fought back for sure. Where do you think Donaldson's landing?
I think in the end he stays with the Braves.
I think so too.
But I don't. He's not going to get the 4 years that he wants. It's not going to happen. I see it more like a 2-year.
I think it'll be one of those a week before training camp starts. Mm-hmm. And what about our boy Nick Castellanos?
I think he stays with the Cubs.
He better. I mean, the Cubs are stupid if they don't re-sign him.
One of the favorites to land him that I've been reading about it are the Giants. It doesn't make any sense. Like the
Giants don't make any sense.
He's going to hit a lot of flyouts in that stadium.
Yeah, I mean, if you thought Comerica was big,
like to me that just stay with the Cubs. You're gonna be an all-star with the Cubs because that field plays perfect to your game.
And this is the first time in his career where he can choose where he wants to go. So, and I think too, he's very well received in the locker room. Yeah, stay there. You'll be hitting 45 bombs, especially out of Wrigley. And do you think Mookie stays with the Red Sox? What will he finish the year as a Red Sox?
He'll finish the season as a Red Sox. Now, next off season, I think he's going to be it's going to come down to, do the Red Sox want to have a Mike Trout deal?
Yes. Because
if they don't, he's going to get similar money elsewhere.
Yeah, there's going to be 30 other temes backing a Brinks truck up.
But it would not shock me if Boston decides that that's who they want. Mm-hmm. They're gonna. I don't think that they'll have a deal with him that's Mike Trout, but I think it'll be more money than Harper.
I could see that. I definitely. If the Red Sox, the only way they could keep him was to sign him to a bigger contract than Mike Trout, bye. Mm-hmm. Bye. You're not Mike Trout. Are you a once-in-a-generation player to a team? Yes. Yes, you're not Mike Trout, though.
No.
Mike Trout's done it longer, better.
More consistent.
Yeah, but Mookie's, I mean, he's obviously, I'm biased on this one.
Oh, absolutely.
I want him to stay. Now, to kind of piggyback on that, will David Price be a Red Sox at the end of the year?
It's just that kind of goes down to where Boston's at. Where's Boston going to be at? You look at what the Yankees have done this offseason. Can Boston, hang with them?
Yeah.
Because if the Yankees start to run away with it,
like they did last year,
Houston's going to be right there again. So it kind of depends on where Boston sits in that wild card run.
Houston will be there as long as they have metal trash cans in the dugout. Mm-hmm.
But I think a little bit of what Boston's lacking now, and 4 or 5 years ago they weren't lacking in it, is their farm system's weak again to where
the bullpen's garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Bullpen's hot garbage. And if we were sitting here last year at this time, I would have been let Craig Kimbrell make his own check. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know what? Damn executives know more than we do. They know more than we do. So, but no, if you told me, Turb, I'll give you a choice. You could trade David Price and keep Mookie Betts, or we keep David Price and can't afford Mookie Betts. David Price, it's been nice to know you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been nice to know you. And his Boston career got off real shaky. Him and Eckersley still have this thing going on, I guess. I don't understand it. Just keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah.
Pitch your game. David Price, I've always been a fan, even going back to Tampa.
Yes.
And especially when he's spinning with the Tigers. Mm-hmm. Spun a lot of good games.
Yes. And
the last 2 years, he's been a solid number 2 behind Chris Sale. And when Sale's struggling, he's the number 1.
Yeah.
And especially to have 2 lefties on a staff that can do that's very rare. Usually you have 1. Mm-hmm. Some teams have none. The Red Sox have had 3. Mm-hmm. So, because you can't, Eduardo Rodriguez, you got to throw in there too. Mm-hmm. Which, again, getting back to, I don't think we've seen the best of. He's one of those.
Yep.
He's one of those. Him and Matthew Boyd are kind of those same kind of lefties. Yep. They're not overpowering. They need to hit their spots. They need to be consistent. And when they do that, both of them can throw 7 shutout innings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, if you gave me the choice, Mookie or David Price, see David Price.
I agree.
Now, is Chris Bryant a Cub at the end of the season?
That one's tough. Again, I think it kind of comes down to where these teams are at when we get to that second half of the season. If the Cubs are right there, no, he's staying. But if the Cubs are falling off, yeah, they're gonna trade. They're gonna. I don't know. That one's to me. I think he'll stay. I think he'll be there at the end of the season because I think the Cubs will be competing.
Another one that shocked me is they haven't even talked to Anthony Rizzo about an extension. That's weird to me. A Gold Glove first baseman.
Everybody, especially Cubs fans, he's been the guy that was there, when they were shit, and then he, came up with them as they started to turn things around there, and then they won a World Series. So he's kind of been Mr. Cub. Mm-hmm. But as far as some of these players that they have, and Chris Bryant, I want Chris Bryant over Anthony Rizzo.
I'm the opposite.
Really?
Give me Rizzo because it's especially in the National League, I can name so many more third basemen than I can great first basemen. I think the way the market is now, if it was a perfect world and I had to choose between one or the other, I think Chris Bryant's a better player. But as far as fit goes, and probably the price tag
for sure.
I think you can get, yeah, for sure. And my mind's trying to wander and be like, all right, which other National League first baseman would you put over Anthony Rizzo? Gold Glove first baseman year in and year out, a great leader. Hits you about 260, 35, 40 home runs, 100 RBIs. And that's batting after Chris Bryant. Mm-hmm. Sometimes batting first. So it's not like he's the prime target in the lineup. I think there's just way more third base talent, especially in the National League, than there is first base talent. Would it suck to have either one of them go? Absolutely. In a perfect world, I guarantee Cubs fans would want them both.
Oh, yeah. And I think everybody, when all these kids were coming up for the Cubs, we all knew that this day was going to come where they're going to break up. You can't have this caliber of players all on the same team because you just can't afford it. Mm-hmm. And because there's going to be a day where you're going to have to pay Baez. And I think as far as Cubs fans would probably agree with me, I think he would probably be number one. We got to make sure that Baez is there. We can't let him leave. He's got to be there, and he's going to be the highest paid player on the team. So then you have to kind of make a decision on Bryant and Rizzo. Which one do you want? I'm going Bryant. Rizzo's older. I know he's not that old, but he's older. Bryant's going to be around longer. Bryant could slide right over there and play first base. There's no doubt in my mind. True.
Which, Madden did.
Yeah.
Plays right field, first base.
Is Rizzo a great leader? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I could find a fucking leader out there for a hell of a lot cheaper to slide into that spot. But I want to make sure that I have Bryant and Baez, and I don't want those guys going anywhere. To me, they're talking about trading Bryant. You better have a team that's willing to give up 3 or 4 top-end prospects in a trade for Bryant, or I'm not. There's no way I'm letting him walk.
3 top prospects and an everyday player.
Yes, there's no way that I'm letting him walk unless it's you're going to have to offer up everything but the kitchen sink.
And I think Cubs fans, if you guys are worried about these contracts, you need to look at your starting pitching and your fucking bullpen first, because horrible. John Lester, I've always been a huge Lester fan, but he's getting old.
Yeah.
He's getting old. Now, I mean, Cole Hamels is gone. Can't remember who he signed with. But you got Quintana, Lester, and a couple other dudes. I mean, it's okay. Mm-hmm. Are you going to beat the Milwaukees, the St. Louis of the world with that? No. And I think you're getting back, was it Brandon Morrow, the closer? Mm-hmm. He's coming back. He didn't pitch pretty much at all last year. So there's hope in the bullpen. But man, and then your first year manager, I mean, this is something that could go extremely well, like it did for Alex Cora and the Red Sox, or it could go really, really bad, really quick, because of when we talked about the Cubs signing Papa. Grandpa, it could go one of two ways. It could go really, really good, or it can go really shitty really quick. So Cubs fans, don't worry about these contracts just yet.
No.
You've got other pressing issues. And let's see here. Got a couple more. Francisco Lindor. Do the Indians open the pocketbook and pay him even close to what he's worth? I don't think so.
No,
and they're morons.
This is. If I was in their situation, yes, but they're not going to. They made it clear. What was it? 2 years ago when the owner there said that he basically. I mean, 2 years ago when Lindor was in the running for the MVP and one of the best players in the game at that season, and he made the comment. I can't remember what exactly he said, but he basically said that if he wants a contract like so and so's, he better look elsewhere. Well, they've made it clear that they're not going to spend the kind of money that he's going to make, so he's going to go. But yeah, you talk about pissing one away.
Yeah,
there you go. I mean, he's one of the best players in the game.
Well, if you look back, they've done it many times. Manny Ramirez, prime example. It's a whole bunch of Johnny Peralta was another one. Dudes that were just in their prime. That Victor Martinez. So there's been a lot of great talent come through Cleveland. They just don't keep them.
Yep.
They don't. I mean, Rick Vaughn. just seeing if you're paying attention over there. All right. Well, I think that wraps up my list here. 2Ks. Is there anything that I missed on there?
No.
All right. Well, let's go into paycheck and onions. First of all, I want to say fuck this game. Fuck the paycheck.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Army Navy. I was like, whoa.
No, hold on. No. For the past 2 weeks, I've gotten my paycheck game wrong. And last week, maybe it's karma for me hating Michigan for this long.
It exactly is.
Picked them to beat Illinois as my paycheck game. And Juwan and the boys just basically lit my $100 bills on fire.
That's the first game Michigan's ever lost, and I'm actually happy that they lost it. I'll say that you can never put your paycheck on Michigan. I don't.
Fuck.
I bet you won't ever do it again.
No, and I'm actually trying to be. I'm not going to say a Michigan fan, a Juwan Howard fan. It's a fucking difference. I did it with the Lions years ago. I was a Barry Sanders fan and not a Lions fan. You can still do that. See, I'm sitting at. I got every game wrong last week, and with that came a 3-point little zinger.
Yeah, that's.
So I'm sitting at 42 points. 42 points. Where are you sitting at?
I didn't have a very good week either last week, but I didn't have negative like you did. I only ended up with 2, so I'm up to 50. All
right, so you had a nice little 8-point cushion there. Well, Mr. King Big Dick, what is your first pick'em game of the week?
First pick, I'm going NFL. Going back with my Cowboys. Somebody's got to win that division.
No, they don't.
And it's Cowboys over the Eagles. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow between both of those matchups. I like the Eagles matchup better than the Cowboys matchup. So there's a chance going into this game that the Eagles could be ahead of the Cowboys. But I'm picking the Cowboys to beat the Eagles, and I'm picking the Cowboys to go on and win that division and make the playoffs. And then lose in the first round like they always do.
Can you really win a division with an under 500 record? Is that still considered winning?
Yes, you can still do
it. That's like renting to own a division. Your credit's so shit, you gotta pay more to get shit to come over here.
And going into the season, who would have thought? I mean, like we both talked about the Cowboys. I picked the Cowboys to be in the Super Bowl. I know you picked them to be make a run in the playoffs a little bit. I don't think you had them in the Super Bowl, but no. And then the same thing with the Eagles. You had Carson Wentz coming back. Everybody, there was people talking about Wentz going and winning the MVP this season. Yeah,
he hasn't even played close to that.
No, and one thing I have with the Eagles is, man, they just can't get healthy. And I mean, they got wide receivers out. They're actually talking about bringing the old the quarterback who used to quarterback for the Jets a little bit, who has a little bit of a history of playing wide receiver. He might suit up as a wide receiver.
Did you see my tweet during the Jets-Ravens game? Any chance the Jets can bring back Wayne Corbett? I mean, anything. Granted, Crowder had a hell of a game.
Yes.
But that's about the only person that did.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else? I mean,
I mean, I can't say anything bad about Le'Veon. He's just on a really shitty team. There's nothing he can do about it.
Yep.
He still has been putting up pretty decent numbers, you know, in games. He's going to be he's. But at the same time, it's like, motherfucker, this is what you wanted. You wanted the money. Yeah. You wanted to get paid.
You chose
to fucking go to the Jets.
You chose to
and everybody laughed at your decision, except for Jets fans. They thought that they were actually going to compete for something this year.
Yeah, all Cody Brazeman. Well, my first pick 'em, I'm looking at now 2K Crew. I did a nice little cornucopia here. I've got some NFL. I've got some college bowl games. And I think an NCAA basketball game on my docket. So I'm going to go first. The Saints travel to Tennessee. And looking at this game, you'd be like, oh, fuck, Saints, 7, 8, 9, 10-point favorite. It's almost a pick 'em. Saints are 1-point favorite.
Yeah.
Almost a pick 'em. And I'm picking against that. I'm taking the Titans.
It's hard to pick against them right now. You look at what the Ravens are doing. They look like the best team in the NFL right now. Yeah. It started off with what the Niners were doing, and then I think the Ravens have kind of surpassed them. The Ravens were able to beat the Niners, but
I was going to say it's not a knock against the Niners. It's just that the Ravens are playing so
that good.
The Niners have been like this all year.
Yes, and
whereas Baltimore is just. The slope is growing.
Yes, and the main reason Lamar Jackson. I think you can slap the MVP. On him right now.
You look at what it's him. The defense is balling out. Mm-hmm. It's getting back to, I'm not saying as good as the Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, T Sizzle, that defense, but it's pretty fucking close.
Pretty damn good.
Mark Ingram has been a perfect gel in there. Mm-hmm. And if you saw the thing I posted in the 2Ks group where he's looking at Lamar, He either wants to make love to him or eat him.
And it's something weird there. He's kind of a weird guy anyways. But no, looking at for going back to the Titans, with the exception of the Ravens and what Lamar Jackson's got going, since the Titans made the change from Mariota to Tannehill, Tannehill might be the next best quarterback, or at least playing like the second best quarterback in the NFL since he's taken over that job, and it showed in their games, and they've If they get into the playoffs, I don't want to play against them.
No. Yeah, so Tannehill might be your NFL comeback player of the year, even though he didn't come back from injury. He's coming back from a shitty team. And so my second pick'em, picked this game once before.
Oh, yeah.
And I almost got it right. Mm-hmm. It was a 13-10 ball game. And I'm looking at the Bills at the Patriots. The Bills are on an uprise. Patriots are on kind of a slide. Mm-hmm. Historically, I thought it never happens that the Pats lose 2 games in a row. Well, they did. Mm-hmm. Are they going to win this weekend? Probably. Are they going to beat the Bills? No. The Bills were that close. The Pats defense hasn't been Pats defense like. Granted, it's been a harder part of their schedule. Yep. And Josh Allen's been playing a lot better football. Mm-hmm. He's not giving the ball away, where that was the Achilles heel of him in that game the first time around, is he had 3 interceptions. I don't think the Pats turn him over 3 times. And I'm going to go 21-17 Buffalo.
I like it.
And that's with... The Patriots are 6.5-point favorite, which I'm trying to figure out why.
Yeah, I don't know.
What are they?
Probably because they're playing at home.
Going into this week, the Pats are 10-2. The Bills are 9-3.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I fuck the points. I'm taking the Bills outright, 21-17. What's your second pick?
Second pick, I'm going NBA, and probably, I can probably say he's my favorite player in the NBA to watch right now, Luka Doncic from the Mavericks. And I'm picking the Mavericks over the Celtics. It'll be the Wednesday night 9:30 game on ESPN. And I like, both teams are very good. You got the Celtics, who maybe one of the best teams in the East, and then you got the Mavs, who with the exception of maybe the Lakers. The Lakers have kind of separated themselves as the best team in the West, but the Mavericks are right there with two or three other
they're
teams.
Scary good.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, for Mark Cuban hits on the. I mean, has a very good. Whoever his international scout is needs a fucking
yes,
raise.
Absolutely.
He's probably the same dude that got Dirk. Traded for Porzingis, and now Luka. Are you kidding me? Yeah, he's a very special talent, and he's so young still.
Mm-hmm.
So young, and then with Porzingis too. So Mark Cuban might know a thing or two, or at least he knows who the fuck to hire to go do these jobs. What's your third pick 'em, sir?
Third pick 'em. I'm staying in the NBA again. It'll be the Thursday night game, and I'm going potentially. This could be our finals matchup: Lakers and Bucks. Ooh. And I'm picking.
Is that in Milwaukee?
In Milwaukee.
Right.
I'm picking Lakers over the Bucks. I think LeBron's gonna let the old Greek freak know that hey, young buck, I'm still the face of this game.
I'm still the king. I'm looking at the New Mexico Bowl. I know, very exciting. This is actually on a week from today, Saturday. Central Michigan at San Diego State. I'm taking Central Michigan outright, even though San Diego State's a 3.5-point favorite. I know nothing about San Diego State, but I'm still taking Central. Fire up chips. Right. Switch a paycheck game over there, 2Ks.
Paycheck. I've been talking about this game for, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 weeks now. And at the time, I thought there was a legitimate shot that both of these teams were going to be winless come week 16. Well, the Dolphins got hot a little bit, and they ended up winning. I think they won 3 games in a row or 2 games in a row. And they ended up losing just last week to the Jets on a last-second field goal.
I think it's a 3-win Dolphin team against a 1-win Bengals team.
And I'm putting right now, the game I think is kind of swayed to the Dolphins. The Dolphins have like maybe a 3-point favorite.
Sounds about right.
But it's close. But I'm putting my fucking paycheck on it, and I'm saying that the Dolphins beat the Bengals. Right. I don't know why I'm doing that.
It's because they're the Bengals. And
I think the Bengals are really, really playing for Burrow. So I don't think that they really want to win. I don't think they really want to win this game.
God, poor Joe Burrow if he goes to Cincinnati.
But it wouldn't surprise me if Andy Dalton just does one stupid thing and goes out and wins the damn game, and then they don't get the first pick.
It's like if Matt Stafford wins this week, or not Stafford, but the Lions win this week. Their chances of getting the number 1 overall pick decline by like 45%.
Mm-hmm.
So Lions fans don't win.
You don't need to win, and you want the Bengals to pull this off.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at my paycheck game. I don't know why I keep picking basketball games as my paycheck game, but I'm looking at the Big Ten on Sunday. Ohio State at Minnesota. Ohio State's just too good. Ohio State is legit.
Might be the best team in the Big Ten right now.
Which is scary to say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'm not sure. That doesn't seem like any team wants to be number 1 right now.
No.
Which I think is going to lead to an exciting March Madness tournament. There's not that one team.
There's no team that sticks out.
No,
and
there's probably 15 teams right now that you could put a legitimate gripe that they would win.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super stoked. Because even this last week, Louisville went down, Maryland went down, and ironically enough, the Big Ten had the number 3, 4, and 5 team with Ohio State, Maryland, and Michigan, and
Maryland goes down and Michigan goes down twice. Yep.
And even Michigan State, I'm not sure what they ended up with today against Oakland, but even the first part of that game, they were struggling with Oakland. Mm-hmm. Oakland's got some dudes that can shoot.
The thing with the Big Ten is that just from top to bottom, there really hasn't been a team that stands out to me, but there's been 10 teams
that look awesome.
Yes, and probably not going to happen because the conference, unfortunately, is just going to beat up on each other. Mm-hmm. But there's a legitimate shot that they could have double digit numbers in the tournament.
Absolutely. Well, my Onions game, kind of going out on a limb here. The Mitsubishi Motors Las Vegas Bowl. We have Boise State squaring off against Washington. And kind of shocked that Washington's in this bowl to begin with. But there's a lot of hype around Washington and the quarterback. And They're a 3.5-point favorite over Boise State, but I don't care. I'm taking Boise State anyway. Taking Boise State anyway, trying to get some. Yep. Even though no Smurf turf, still going Boise State.
I like the pick. Boise just has a way of. It seems like they just win, win big games
Every bowl
all
game?
the time. Yes.
Even though Kellen Moore's not playing, but still.
He's still trying to call fucking plays for Dallas.
He was doing a great job at the beginning of the season. Hand it to Zeke.
Yeah.
Hand it to Zeke. Hand it to Zeke. Pass it to Amari. Hand it to Zeke. I'm not sure why they went away from that.
No. My Onions pick, I'm going. This is, one of the better, head-to-head matchups as far as for our division in Packers and Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
And Vikings are actually the favorite to win this game.
I'm kind of shocked.
Which, it's a big game. It'll be. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but this is the following week. But potentially this could be a game for that division.
Not to interrupt, but I just caught the Michigan State score 72-49, so I think they got their shit together against Oakland.
But this Packers and Vikings game could come down to the winner could go on to win this division.
You said this one's in Minnesota?
It's in Minnesota. Minnesota's the favorite. I'm taking the underdog. I'm going to Packers. I think Packers win it. Matt LaFleur, first Green Bay coach to ever win 10 games in the first season. And I'm also saying that LaFleur wins that division. And
if not for Tomlin's probably the greatest coaching performance of his career, is LaFleur the coach of the year?
No.
Top three?
Yeah, probably top three. John Harbaugh.
Yeah,
is my coach of the year where it stands right now, and I think it could come down to
it's either him or Tomlin.
Him or Kyle Shanahan, and whoever wins it, I can't argue it one bit.
Right.
Tomlin, yes, the way he's winning,
especially if they make the playoffs.
Yes, if they make the playoffs, that's a whole different story. Especially when you lose Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown goes and Bell's and elsewhere.
I was the reason I brought that up is I was honestly thinking about this on the way over here today. I think it's a blessing that Bell is not there, that Antonio Brown's not there. Could you imagine those two with whatever
Ducky Hodges?
Yeah, Hodges. Just shitting on him because he's not doing things the right way or the way they want him to. So Steeler fan,
go back to when they had Mason Rudolph there. I mean, yeah. I could see Antonio Brown hitting Rudolph with his helmet before,
or taking his helmet off and hitting him while.
Well, Brown's not going to take his helmet off because that helmet.
Yeah.
Yes, that's his helmet.
But no, that was just something I was thinking about. It's like, you know what, those two are there. Mike Tomlin's probably fired. And
very good chance of it.
You're talking about a whole rebuild, and probably maybe Roethlisberger retires.
Mm-hmm. So
it could be a whole lot worse if you're a Steelers fan. And hell, you're still treading. You're more than treading water. I want to say they have the last playoff spot in the wild card.
Yeah.
If not, they're right there.
They're right there.
And if they take care of their business, they'll be in. So, but yeah, I just figured I'd throw that out there, see what you thought. But yeah, still. Looking back, we owe Dustin Perry a very, very heartfelt apology.
Yeah, we were pretty hard on them.
Yeah, we did.
At the beginning of the season.
We ripped his team pretty good. But you know what? That's probably why we don't work for an actual team, because there's smarter people out here than us armchair assholes. So, well, Mr. 2Ks, do you have anything else to add, my friend?
Nope, don't think so.
All right. Well, 2K crew, we love you guys. If you see my shirt. The Joe Buck Sucks t-shirt is available on our Teespring store, as well as if you go over there's some extra secret squirrel shit over there. I'm waiting for samples before I actually publish it on the Facebook group and all of our other social medias. But follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter, which I've been having a lot of fucking fun with Twitter. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the button. Hit a like. Leave us a comment. Find us over at iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating and a comment, and we will read your comment on the podcast. So with that being said, I think we'll wish you all a very good week. hopefully 2K crew, keep your fingers crossed with this new camera. It's going to make my life a whole lot easier. And even having the shitty ass internet that we have here, this is going to streamline my process a lot. So this comes out on Tuesday, the audio. The videos have been coming out on Wednesday, and then the highlight show coming out on Thursday. So that's, if my thing is, if I've been doing it this way, doing it the shitty way, doing it this way, fingers crossed that everything works, it should go a whole lot easier. And it'll also open up some time for me to post some other cool shit too. So keep an eye out for all that good shit, guys and gals. We will leave you with this, and Jim Rome, we are coming for ya.